Hey, everybody, welcome back. My name is Deborah Peters. Welcome to the Deborah Peters Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is the most amazing time in history that any of us could be alive. We are really in an up-level process of human consciousness. Our self-awareness is increasing every day. Our understanding of what really creates reality is shifting dramatically. And we're all learning how to be accountable to our greatness and to take responsibility for the life we live, for the relationship dynamics that we function in, for the way our business thrives or not, for our generation and receivership and allowing of wealth into our lives. And of course, our self-expression and what that really means and contributes to this world. And most importantly, our health, because if you don't have your health, you have nothing. And this is just such a passionate topic for me that I've invited back as my most wonderful guest again for a second episode, Chris Neal. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk about something that is also super passionate. I'm super passionate about, which is health and wellness. And I think we're going to touch on limitations and how that relates to everything, literally everything. So now, and like you said, we are in a very exciting time because despite having such a ridiculous overabundance of information, there's a lot of information and science out there on how to break through limitations that our body sets up for ourselves. We are all set up to age. If you think about it, we're basically designed and set up to age and degrade over time. That in itself is a limitation. That's if you think about it, it's the ultimate limitation.
100%. I sometimes wonder, Chris, I always wonder how much of that is just a mind program, a pattern that we've been fed. And so much so, the repetition is so intense that we've accepted it. And so therefore, because we accept it, it becomes our reality. We can turn our immune system on and off through the thoughts we think.
That's true. Yeah.
We can tear ourselves down and tear our health apart through our negative self-talk. And we can build up and replenish all of our cells. I remember when I first started studying the mind-body connection and neuroscience, there was a big false premise that only certain parts of your body regenerate. And I actually bought into it at first. And then I had this wake up call one day. I'm like, wait a minute. I can't imagine God creating a body, a system like this complex and having an off switch on some of the cells and an on switch on some of the other cells. Like, to me, that's just ludicrous. So it just shows you how far we've come in terms of our understanding of, hey, how am I living my life? How am I manifesting me? What am I creating here?
Absolutely. And it's interesting if you have that open mindset about it, because that is what I call very much of a scientific mind, very curious, wants to explore, wants to invent. And that is what we need more of in research and in the medical field. If you think about it, like in medicine, we don't have that mindset at all. We talked a little bit about this in the last podcast about how, unfortunately, Western medicine is set up more like a business, than it is
100%.
actual curiosity and exploration and learning and developing things. Because if you like, medicine should be less of a business, less of like triage. Okay, we have to see 40 people today, and okay, you've got 5 minutes. Are you good? You feeling okay? Here's your script. I'll see you back in 6 months. That's like,
that's
as long as you're not dying, okay, if you have any big problems, call 911. But otherwise, let's get this train moving, and it's a rotating door. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
And well, but I shouldn't say it's not okay. It only there are vast limitations, or there's really big problems with that if you think about things, and if now we have the information and the ability, if utilized, to blow that whole system out of the water and say, oh my gosh, there's so much we can do. Like if we um, I don't want to take up too much time, but like I was thinking about this the other day. I was looking at watching my dog, taking him out, and I think about these things, and I thought, about um, dogs don't feel old. Like they have
Right.
no concept in the animal kingdom, really. They don't really have a concept of age. They have a concept of aging insofar as they're not able to do the types of things they would like to do. And that is the premise of aging in the animal kingdom. So you see, like
Sure.
the all my dog wants to do is jump around, sleep on the sofa, like eat and poop and, like, chase squirrels, and that's pretty much like it. And as soon as he feels like his body is not allowing him to do that anymore, he begins the process of aging, so to speak. And the same
Sure.
thing, like that even goes into more detail if you see like a herd of like water buffalo or something, and the one at the back of the pack, as long as he can't keep up with the pack anymore,
You're
then
done.
that, yeah, like the whole pack and the whole society says that, hey, you're done, that's, you've reached
Well,
your limit.
yeah, I think, it's my opinion that animals don't have the same, obviously, perception of death that humans have.
Hmm.
We have been taught for eons that death is horrible, it's a bad thing, and you should avoid it at all costs because we feel limited. Like this is our short window, this is our limitation. We're only here for a short while, yet we are eternal.
Hmm.
And, our soul goes on forever. So our consciousness never ceases to be.
I do agree with
And
that. Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
so there's really nothing to get all wound up about this. And because, I've had a lot of death in my family, a lot of family members, and grief has been something that's been a huge, huge block to success in my family's
Oh.
lineage.
Mm-hmm.
Huge, like grieving for decades. Like my mom grieved for decades over the death of my father. She never got past it. She
Mm.
never loved again.
Mm.
And so, we're just too heavy handed, I think, about death in society, whereas animals, they just don't have any attachment to it.
True. Yeah.
There's no judgment
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. But one of the things that I wanted to tie into, and I totally agree. I'm totally with you on that. Um, One of the things about, like, if we then go back from the animal kingdom to the, humankind, is that over the period of our existence, we have blown so many ideas and preconceptions out of the water. So many limitations are just like,
Yes.
man can never fly. If God wanted us to fly, he would have given us wings,
Right.
right? And
Crazy
now we
stuff.
have, oh my gosh, yeah, there's flights leaving and coming everywhere. Like we see and hear airplanes flying overhead, which before would have been like magic, or like some type of, like, and now it's just
Oh
common.
yeah, like
you
evil
know
spirit. Or
yeah.
like um, you know, these mysticism ideas that, we're possessed if we're able to do something that hasn't yet been
Yeah,
considered
that's right.
possible. I think that's what you're saying.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so it goes with the aging um factor
Exactly.
as
So it's
well.
like, if we can blow so many limitations out of the water through the existence of humankind, why can we not put some of that explorative and
Mm,
curiosity and science into our own, which is even more important. I'm sorry, our health is more important than being able to fly from here to,
yeah.
Topeka. Like, it's just like, it just is. How come we cannot do that, or why haven't we,
Well,
put
we
enough
can. That's
energy
why
in that?
you're here.
Yeah, I guess. Hey, I've got a job. That's right.
You're here. That's why
That's what
you're
I do.
here.
But I love
Um,
it. I love it.
Yeah, so what I want to dig into today is just the notion of that. So, when I put out the show notes, I was saying that, aging can look like loss of cognitive function, saggy skin, loss of bone density, loss of muscle tone, lack of enthusiasm for life, and not, really being inspired by possibilities, and sort of just kind of like giving it up and going. And I hear it all the time. It's like, well, it's because I'm old, or I'm getting old, or I'm getting older, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just such a massive limitation. So really doesn't have to be that way. And I think that's where you're coming from with the hormone replacement therapy and the HRT is, you know, why not give your body a little boost? Basically, instead of eating French fries, eat, clean protein in a salad. Instead of letting your body fall apart, give your hormones a boost with some HRT. Women suffering with massive menopause
Oh gosh.
symptoms, and just
Yes.
suffering through and thinking, no, I'm going to do it the natural way. I'm not going to put anything into my body. And it's like, okay, you must like
Yeah.
suffering.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say to that, but
Yeah, that's what
or
it
I
comes
have
down to.
clients that, a lot of male CEOs are my clients, and they hit their mid 40s, late 40s, 50s, 60s, and they're like losing their drive, their
Mm-hmm.
assertiveness. They lose their enthusiasm for the get up and go to like, let's keep growing this thing. And it
That's
doesn't have
right.
to be that way either.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And it's just like it's just in a way it's just like that dog or the animal I was talking about. Like when that there's something distinctively that happens to a human being, and you can hear it in someone's voice when
Yeah.
they have accepted limitation and they sound different and they
And they've
say,
settled.
yes, they'll say, well, Chris, I'm such and such years old now. And it doesn't even matter. Like I've had people literally tell me, that are 29 years old, I'll be 30 and I'm just so tired. And I know I'm getting older.
Fascinating.
And, or
Limiting
whatever the
beliefs.
age, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's an acceptance of a limitation, that doesn't have to be there, like you said. And I'll tell them, okay, well, what, I feel this old or whatever, and I'm getting older. I'm like, okay, well, what is it that makes you feel old? Well,
Yeah.
my hips, my knees, I'm having aches and pains. I'm not sleeping as well. I'm not able to concentrate the way I used to, and then I have difficulty waking up in the morning and my sex drive is low. I said, okay, great. Now, if I can give all of those a giant boost, and really improve on all of that so you feel a lot better, how old would you feel then?
Yes.
Well, and they have to stop and think about it. Well, okay, maybe I wouldn't feel like I'm the age that I am. And I said, okay, well, when it comes down to it, that's all my dog wants. As long as he can run around and do the things he wants to do, then who cares how old you are? There's
That's a
no
great
concept of
analogy.
age anymore, and that's what we do, and there are very, very healthy and safe options and ways to do that, and it's
That's a
neat.
great analogy. So let's talk a little bit about menopause for women, because that's a really big deal. And
Hmm.
I see women uh, suffering with that, and my heart goes out to them. So let's address that, because I think there's a lot of money to be made off of women's health. And I don't mean that in a positive way. Um, and so, what can we do for women that are in perimenopausal, or they're
Hmm.
menopausal, to give them their life back?
Yeah. Well, so there's a lot. There's a lot that can be done. Unfortunately, I'm a bit of a history buff. So like, uh, um, so I like to look back at like trends and how we used to do things, and that kind of changes. Obviously it changed over time as we learn. But in medicine, there's a really big drag of information. It takes a long time for new information to make its way into your doctor's office to the point where he feels
Sure.
comfortable saying it. Which
Yeah.
isn't necessarily a good thing.
No.
I understand it does keep us safe, and no one in medicine wants to be a trendsetter.
Right.
I
In
will
case
say
they're
that.
wrong.
Yeah. Oh, CYA. You got a CYA, and like
Yeah.
if you're wrong, or if you're, and so yeah. So when it comes to the way we used to treat women, unfortunately, the majority of the researchers back, and I'm talking 30, 40 years ago, the majority of the researchers, the majority of the clinicians were men.
Sure.
Even OBGYN physicians were men mostly, which was a bad thing. So you have these women come in,
Well,
and
there's no relatability.
oh gosh, yeah, you can't even and then we're not taught how to understand how someone feels.
Yeah,
That is not there's very, very little um, uh, instruction on that in med school. Especially like the relatability from a man into to a woman, especially back then, was awful. It's
sure.
bad now, but it was much worse then. So you have a woman that comes in, and how and basically also how people responded or talked to a physician or to a clinician was different back then too. But
Of
so you
course.
have these women that come into the office, and they're tired, they're their sex drive is low. Back then especially, I doubt they would even say that in the
Right.
presence of a physician. You don't even talk about those things because it's a faux pas. But it's important. It's a big deal,
It is a big deal.
how you get through the day. So it was night sweats, hot flashes, and that was just about all they would talk about. Sleep, maybe some weight gain. So from a male clinician's perspective, our thought process and our education was, okay, you're a woman, you're giving me basically symptoms that I would classify as quote unquote hormonal. Okay, you're a hormonal
Yeah,
48-year-old female or what have you. Therefore, you must need more of the female hormone, which is estrogen, and
yeah.
which could not be further from that's a horrible thing to do. So they would put them on loads and loads of estrogen, and without really any basis or understanding of, okay, how does this make you feel? It's like, hey, I'm the doctor. I was the one that came up with the dosage. This is what you need to take. And if I see you back in 3 months and you're not feeling good, I'm still the doctor. This was the dosage I chose. You just need
Hmm.
to stick with it, and maybe your body will come
Or
along.
take more.
Yeah, or just take more. We'll just crank it up. And like that is the thought. That was the thought process in many cases. And a lot of women it obviously did not make them feel better, or they were overloaded with so much estrogen that if they just so happened to also be growing a breast cancer at the same time, these breast cancers would feed off of all of this excess estrogen they're taking. And then we got,
100%.
in the 80s and 90s, we got a huge breast cancer scare, and that's where all the pink ribbons and stuff came from,
Sure.
so there's, it took, basically going into and then people said, oh, well, hormones are just bad. Women should not be on hormones at all. You need to go completely natural,
Oh my God.
after that,
So it's a huge
which
pendulum swing.
huge pendulum
Yeah.
swing. So if understanding the history behind all of this really makes sense, and then so that now when new information comes in, back in the early 2000s, and they found out that, okay, we used to think boys have testicles, they make testosterone. Girls have ovaries, they make estrogen. That's not true. Like, it's just not the case. Like in a woman's ovaries, they actually make testosterone, and
Sure.
then they convert some of that testosterone into estrogen. That's how you come up with it in the first place.
Hmm.
So completely put a lot of things on its head. So then, this in research, scientific data, it came out like, hey, this is how it really works. And um, all of these doctors that don't want to be trendsetters, that are like, okay, I went to med school and I shadowed, you know, this doctor that was 40 years older than me, and this is how he did it, and he drilled into my head, I have to do it his way, and this is how I do it. I'm the doctor. This is what I decide. This new stuff, maybe one day we'll see what happens with that. So there's this lag,
Yeah.
behind,
A
and it's
total lag.
unfortunate. Yeah, yeah.
You know, just want to, for some reason, I'm losing battery power. So if for any reason we get cut off early, what is it that and then we'll keep talking. What is it that you want people to take away from this show today?
So I'll start with a quote, and a quote I told you earlier that I thought is really important. The only real limitation on your abilities is the level of your desires. If you want it badly enough,
Yeah.
there are no limits as to what you can achieve. So
And that
that's what
includes
it
our
comes down to.
health.
Absolutely. That your health is the most, like you said, the most important and valuable thing that you can invest in, and the most important thing that you have. So is it worth it to, stop going to Five Guys and stop eating hamburgers and French fries all the time
100%.
and eat a salad or whatever? If you can break through a lot of limitations, and just because you have a medical diagnosis, just because you have something real that's going on, because we still get, yeah, even though we're optimized or feeling good, you can still get real stuff. You can
Yeah,
still
of
get real issues.
course.
But that doesn't mean you have limitations. And doctors, and especially a lot of medical people, they want to impose these limitations. Well, you have, I heard this one. Here's a great example. Um, you've had a stroke.
Hmm.
This is as good as you're going to
Therefore,
get. Yes,
yeah.
therefore this is as good as you're going to get. This is what's going on. Yeah, you can do some therapy, but it probably isn't going to amount to much. You need to begin to think about life differently and start doing things differently.
So
That
you
was
have to settle and
hmm
accept and
yeah.
downgrade your expectations for healing.
hmm
And when you do that mentally and emotionally, that takes place at the cellular level. So your body accepts substandard comeback,
Depression.
well, and depression. But I mean, like in the healing process physically, it accepts, hey, we're not going there. We're not going back to homeostasis
hmm
because we've just received a signal that this is as good as it gets.
hmm yeah.
It's a, it's a, it's a travesty that that limitation is put on patients by well-meaning doctors as if their diagnosis is the only diagnosis on the planet and nothing else is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. When really the honest thing, if you want, instead of giving someone a limitation, you can say, you know what, myself, my knowledge, my understanding, the tools that I have limitations. And you as a human being do not. If there
Right.
are others, and I would encourage people to look beyond, that. And whenever someone does give you a limitation, just think of it, translate it as, okay, that person has limitations. So like that,
It's
what I
just
was
an
talking about,
opinion.
yeah, that what I was talking about was literally a quote that was told to one of my patients. He was a 50-year-old former fitness model, journalist, and very smart guy.
Sure.
And he was told that after 5 years of treatment after a massive stroke. And he dragged his foot when he walked. His speech was slurred. And he was trying to lose weight and put on, or lose muscle mass and put on like a kind of a potbelly type look. And he was really frustrated with that. And he told his doctors, and I mean a team of very, very good doctors who went to many of the
Sure.
best doctors in the country. And that's what he was ultimately told. And he came to see me, and I said, okay, well, we cannot fix or repair or turn back the time on a stroke, but there are things, there's always, always, always things you can do to be better, to get
Yes.
stronger. So we went into the whole hormone replacement therapy thing, and within 6 weeks he came back to the office, walked perfectly straight right up to me, no more speech slurred, gave me a big hug,
I'm sure.
and told me, Chris, you have no idea what this has done for me. I can talk to my friends and I don't feel like an idiot anymore for the
Yeah.
first time in 5 years. And it's something that we developed. So that stamina in his speech, it started to wane a little bit after 30 minutes of talking, but we got somewhere. We got a little better. And then we just worked on it and worked on it and worked on it. So it was quite fun. So it looks like we lost Deborah. I don't know whether we're still um, streaming, but I am going to try and pause what I have here and see what we can see. Let's see. Okay. All right. So we're going to continue with the podcast. Deborah is having some technical difficulties, but she'll be coming back up any minute now. Here we go. It looks like she's coming in here soon. So, but yeah, that's an example of breaking through limitations. And it wasn't anything novel that I did. It's he had to take the step to say, wait a minute. Okay, if all these doctors are telling me this, they are, he translated in his mind as, you know what, they are telling me their limitations, their opinion is asserting a limitation on me that I can choose not to accept, and I can at least explore. It's worth it to at least explore to see what else is out there, and there is a lot out there, no matter what your medical diagnosis is, and we can talk about it and go through things, because there's always something that you can do. So I just wanted to share that quote with you and share the idea of breaking through those limitations, and then what we can do next to take it to the next level. So and that goes for whatever your goals are. I'd see a lot of weight loss. I see a lot of weight loss goals. So people come to me and say, and this is always kind of funny when I get a kick out of this, when I like to ask, how much would you like to lose? How much weight would you like to get rid of? Well, and people will have a tendency to start out with their age, and they'll say, well, I'm 50 now, so it's probably realistic if I only lose, you know, 20 pounds or whatever, or I'm this age, so I probably should be. And it's like, no, um, those types of, and I try to encourage all of my patients to never sell themselves short, because that's really the beginning of accepting a limitation. So don't be realistic, especially if I would much rather you not be realistic and then have it as something that we can aim for or strive towards, because that's really how science works. If we base our goals off of what has already been done, and what has already been accomplished, then we essentially will never break a mold, basically. So that's how I like to think about it, and that's how I like to inspire and work, with my patients. So we work with a lot of different hormones. We work with a lot of different types of medications, and sometimes it's not even a medications. It's a very holistic approach of diet, how to eat. Something that's just as important, if not more important, is how often you eat, and how that plays out. Your medications that affect your metabolism, hormones, recovery. There's a lot. There's a lot out there, and we're happy to be able to provide that. Concentration nootropics. Nootropics are a whole class of medications and supplements that are designed to provide brain performance. That's the whole class, and what they do. So the brain is a it's a very funny place. It has a lot of power, but we don't understand a whole lot of it. But we're getting there. We're working on it. We're getting there. We're able to understand more and more about the brain, as how it functions, how we can get the most out of it, and how we can keep it dialed in. Because we see what happens when our brain is not dialed in. We get tired, we can't concentrate, we can't do what we need to do. And some people are caught in a loop with that, even to the extreme level of having uh, like a brain chemistry imbalance, and that's very, very real. Unfortunately, it's overly diagnosed sometimes, where people that don't really have a brain chemistry imbalance, um, they just need to be able to support themselves a little bit better. They need to be able to, and I mean in their diet and their exercise and setting up a good routine, healthy living, and Deborah does a lot of uh, uh, inspirational modification with people when it comes to all of those things. So it's very, very crucial to be able to get that going. So Just give me just a moment here. Okay. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So yeah, we're just waiting. Deborah's still having some technical difficulties, and she'll be coming up here in just a moment. Um, but uh, but something else that I wanted to talk about a little bit about the the mindset, the mindset of of taking the leap of looking into things and researching how we can break through limitations. There is a certain level, there is a certain mindset that should be taken because, like I started out by saying, is that we're in a day and age where we are overwhelmed with information. So that's not always a good thing. There's a lot of information that is bad information. It's not always good. So we have to be able to have a mindset where we can distinguish one thing from another, and good positive things from negative things that are not healthy for us. You know so um so unfortunately we have to be careful with what type of things we're reading, how we read them, and being able to read and think critically about something, to determine whether it's going to be something that's good for us or not. Like I very rarely talk about what we do, and as far as like my own perspective, well, I do this and it works for me. Like I don't, a lot of especially a lot of people on YouTube, and videos, and about health and fitness and science and stuff. Well, health and fitness, they talk about things a lot like this. Well, this worked for me, therefore if you're not doing it my way, then you're wrong. And and that's uh, one thing I have found out of working in medicine for decades now, is that everyone is very, very different. And as soon as I begin to put all people in a box, kind of like the triage thing that I was talking about before, as soon as I begin to put people into a box like that, then there are things that I'm missing. You and working with people, inspiring people, and really helping people achieve their best in them is beautifully complex, and you have to have a patience and a passion for that level of complexity. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I'm gonna check in with um, Deborah again to see what we can see and kind of go from there. So let's see here. Um, okay. Okay, hold on just a moment. It looks like she's doing okay. She'll be coming in. She's doing her best, but we're going to keep going for a little bit longer here. Now, one of the things that another aspect that I did want to make sure we talked about, was um, limitations when it comes to complex medical issues. A lot of people, once they do get a certain diagnosis, maybe they're not used to seeing doctors, and they get to a certain age, and boom, they get hit with a diagnosis. And a lot of times it doesn't even matter. It can just be, high blood pressure. So, oh no, I have high blood pressure, and that is the catalyst to accepting a whole laundry list of limitations. Now that I have diabetes, or whatever the case might be, now that I have such and such diagnosis, maybe it's a major diagnosis, maybe it's cancer, maybe it's something that's a big deal, that can really impact people's lives, or something relatively small. Either one. Like we unfortunately have enough imagination to stop, um, to have something like that impact our energy, our internal energy, and impact our life to the point where we're accepting limitations. So, and I'm sure you know people like that, like that you can easily fall into a depression, from accepting limitations based on a diagnosis, rather than exploring real things that have the option of helping you either eradicate the diagnosis completely or manage the diagnosis so you can keep on going. Either one is a success, either one is a win. So it's very, very important to not let anything bring you down, but you have to know what you want. You have to know what you want, and you have to advocate for yourself, because nowadays, if you do not, everyone knows this, you need to have a good medical advocate. That if they're not sitting there with you in the doctor's office, you can share information with them, you can talk to them about things that are happening, so someone can put some understanding behind what's talked about in that medical appointment, because it is a triage setting. Like, they do try and rush through, and unfortunately, you can get our medical system is set up where you can get rushed through very, very quickly. And how you feel, how well you're doing, how you get through your day, and if you really feel at your best, those are things that are of very little consequence, to the whole system. So we don't like that very much, in general, and it's not a very human thing to do. So it's important to have that, to have a medical advocate that's going to be there for you to help lift you up, and to help carry you through. Just because you have some of these diagnoses does not mean there's nothing you can do. A lot of these diagnoses, I imagine, or a diagnosis, I imagine, like, uh, okay, so here's an example. I have a patient that has rheumatoid arthritis. Okay, now rheumatoid arthritis is a particular type of joint disease, where your own immune system is attacking your joints and tearing down your joints. So the thought process behind most of the medications for rheumatoid arthritis are really strong anti-inflammatories, which really have nothing to do with the joints. They just decrease inflammation all around your body, so they don't fix anything. Um, or really strong immune suppressants. Okay, so it just depresses or suppresses your entire immune system, on a lot of different levels. So we still need our immune system, even though your immune system might be going wonky and attacking your joints. It doesn't mean you don't need your immune system to help prevent a cold, or help prevent, an infection here, or a UTI, or what have you. We need our immune system for a lot of things. So it sets you up for failure in a way of a lot of other things happening, which, maybe it's necessary that you have to do that. But we have to look at the whole picture. Okay, how does all of this affect you and your daily life? Well, and those are basically the tools that a lot of rheumatologists have for, recovery, or for helping with rheumatoid arthritis. Now, and I shouldn't say all of them, but the majority of the time, those are the tools that they have, and that's what they give. And then, if you're not doing great, then you just kind of keep on with it. And, well, you've got rheumatoid arthritis, so it is what it is. And that's basically how they think. So from a different perspective, to say, you know what, at the end of the day, my joints still hurt. I'm managing it a little bit better, but, I'm still having difficulty. I can't even make it to the gym, or I can't exercise. I can't do the things that I want to do, because really that's what it all boils down to. As long as you can do the things you want to do at the level you want to do them, then, that's living, that's it, so that's a big part of it anyway. So if you imagine your body like a castle, and you have a giant wall around your castle, and you have some factors inside the building, inside the castle, that is sabotaging your wall. They're tearing down your wall, a lot like in the way that your immune system is tearing down your joints. Yes, okay, we can suppress everything. Yeah. Okay, we can decrease it. Okay, yeah. But what are we doing are we doing anything to build up the wall? No. No, there's really very little, if any offer, or tools to help build up your wall that's getting torn down on a regular basis. So yeah, you can stop the people, or you can try and slow down the people tearing down the wall, but then you still have a crappy wall. So let's look at it from another angle. Maybe we should do things to build up more of a wall, make those joints stronger. Do we have anything for that? So if we can begin to do that, like, that's a really, really big deal. That's a really big deal. And there are factors in there towards building stronger bones, building stronger joints. Your joints, your ligaments, your tendons, all of that, it's actually made of collagen primarily. We have collagen anabolic medications that build those things up, that are great, and so now your treatment modality is not only building you up, but it's actually blocking the source of it as well. So it's focused on how you feel. It makes a big difference. Makes a big difference with that. So that's one of the things that we do. But it starts with thinking outside the box and thinking about how we can bust out of these limitations and not settle for things. And I never stop. I never stop with that. Well, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? We have to be able to have that curious scientific mind to be able to do that. I would encourage that with everyone, and how you read things, how you research things, and don't be afraid, because we have to be our own advocate and have to explore our own life, and our own benefits and things that we can do as far as tools and things. So yeah. Let's see here where we are at and where, if Deborah's able to come in. Oh, I think I just saw her flicker in there. Hey, there she is.
Back.
All right.
Back. Can you believe it? I'm sorry, everybody. I ended up getting kicked offline, but Chris, you carried the ball. Amazing. You're the best. Truly.
No problem. Hey, computers can be quite a headache. We can't live with them and we can't shoot them. So
yeah, 100%.
They're here.
100%. You did a great job. So
yeah. If you ever need help with like troubleshooting, technical things, my 2.5-year-old is getting pretty good.
You have a 2.5-year-old that can handle this for me?
He's pretty sharp. He can work an iPad pretty well. Yeah, it's amazing.
So I know you went into some good stuff about hormones and shifting the body into a place of homeostasis, and slowing down the aging process. We talked about menopause, men's cognitive health when their testosterone drops. What do we want to end on here?
Yeah, so I didn't talk about that too much. I mean, a little bit with I gave some examples of more medical examples of people, how we went into how a lot of things can spark or precipitate the acceptance of limitations. Like a lot of times as we age, maybe we've never seen a doctor before. We've been considered ourselves relatively healthy, and boom, you get a diagnosis when you're 45 years old or something, and just that is enough to change your whole outlook on where your life is heading. And it doesn't matter what the diagnosis is. It can be something as small as just blood pressure. People are like, oh my gosh, I'm, this now. And, or it could be something major, and I just gave a couple of medical examples as to how, people that do have major things, that there's always something you can do. Always.
I think that's a good ending point. It's like, no matter what's happening with your health, there's always something you can do about it. And it's just about finding the right resource to shift that with you and be your partner.
Advocate, yes.
Yeah, your advocate.
Yeah.
What's your website, Chris, so people can reach you? I might lose you again, so we probably better wrap this up.
My website is www.vivohealthsolutions.com.
vivohealthsolutions.com. And I just, I want to give you an amazing testimonial, because you've helped me so much with my health over the last few years. And, I was estrogen dominant for a long time. And my doctor just kept saying, well, maybe we should give you some more. Maybe you need more. And it got to the point where I couldn't focus. I was in fright mode all the time. I couldn't calm my nervous system down. And
Hmm.
You balanced me out. And without you, I don't know. I was going down the wrong path. So thank you. And I recommend everybody
Yay.
to reach out to you. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. And we'll do another episode, okay?
Great. I love it. Thank you so much. I'm having a great time and I love being able to share it with as many people as possible. Thank you so much, Deborah, for what
You're
you do
welcome.
and for this resource to get the
Yeah, my
information out there.
pleasure. My
Mhm.
pleasure. Remember, everybody, stay aligned, stay awake, and stay alert.